if I told you. One man was so feared and powerful that no nation could defeat him. He was the most terrifying enemy Israel had ever faced. Nobody in the nation had peace, until one woman did something so brave, the entire nation praised her for it. How did Sisera die at the hands of a woman when no army could even touch him? To find out, we have to go back to the beginning of his story. One powerful leader filled all of Israel with fear. Sisera was the leader of King Jabin's army. Jabin was a Canaanite king who ruled from the city of Hazor. But Sisera was the man who led his soldiers into battle. Under his command were 900 iron chariots. Israel had no army that could match them. These were not normal wooden carts. They were made for war and fitted with iron. Horses pulled them quickly across open land while armed men attacked from them. Soldiers on foot had little chance against a line of chariots rushing toward them. Sisera knew this, and he used that fear to keep Israel under control. Israel was treated cruelly for 20 years. The main roads were left empty because people were afraid to travel on them. Villages stopped fighting back, and weapons were hard to find among the Israelites. Sisera's army was stronger, faster, and better prepared for war. Year after year, nothing seemed able to stop him. But the people of Israel cried out to God for help. God answered them through Deborah, a prophet who led Israel at that time. Deborah sent for a faithful man named Barak and gave him a command from the Lord. Barak was told to gather 10,000 men and lead them to Mount Tabor. God promised to bring Sisera and his army to the Kishon River. There, God would give Sisera into Barak's hands. Barak knew how dangerous Sisera was. He agreed to fight, but he asked Deborah to go with him. Deborah agreed. However, she warned Barak that the honor of killing Sisera would go to a woman. Soon, Barak gathered 10,000 men from Naphtali and Zebulun. Deborah went with them, and they climbed Mount Tabor. Sisera heard about it. Someone came to him with news that Barak had gathered an Israelite army on the mountain. To Sisera, this was not only an act of war, it was a challenge to the control he had held for 20 years. If Barak wanted to fight, Sisera would answer with all the power he had. He called his soldiers together and ordered all 900 iron chariots to move. He did not send a small group to test Barak's strength. Sisera brought his whole army from Harosheth Hagoyim to the Kishon River. From the mountain, Barak's men watched in silence. They had never faced anything like this before. The river stood below Mount Tabor. Barak's men were above Sisera, but they could not win by remaining on the mountain. They would have to come down into the valley to attack. That was the kind of ground where Sisera's chariots were most dangerous. Sisera placed his army near the river and prepared for battle. Rows of iron chariots waited below the mountain. His soldiers stood ready behind them. Sisera expected Barak's men to see his army, lose courage, and understand why Israel had failed to defeat him for so long. To defeat Sisera, Barak's men would have to run down the mountain and meet him on open ground. Sisera believed that gave him control of the fight. Once the chariots began moving, men on foot would have almost nowhere to hide. The battle seemed ready to end, the same way Sisera expected every battle against Israel to end. But Barak did not turn away. Deborah told him, "Go! This is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. The Lord has already gone ahead of you." Barak trusted God's promise. He led all 10,000 men down Mount Tabor and straight towards Sisera's army. Barak was not fighting to build his own name. He was obeying God and fighting to free his people from Sisera's cruel control. Sisera saw the Israelites coming down. This was the moment he had been waiting for. His enemy had left the safety of the mountain and entered the valley. He had hundreds of chariots ready to charge them. Then the Lord fought against Sisera. Rain poured from the sky, and the Kishon River rose. Water rushed across the land where Sisera had brought his army. The ground became wet and soft beneath the heavy chariots. Their wheels began to sink. Horses pulled against the mud, but many chariots could not move as they should. Some turned badly, while others blocked the soldiers behind them. The strong battle line Sisera had prepared began breaking apart. Sisera tried to control his men, but fear spread through them. Orders could not repair what was happening. His greatest weapons had become heavy traps, and Barak's army was still coming toward them. The song later sung about the battle says that the heavens poured down water, and the Kishon River swept Sisera's men away. This was not simple bad luck. Sisera had brought his army to the exact place God had chosen for his defeat. For 20 years, Sisera's chariots had made Israel afraid. Now those same chariots were trapped beside the river. The Israelites rushed forward, and Sisera's soldiers broke apart in panic. Sisera watched the battle turn against him. Men who had followed his orders were now running for their lives. Chariots were stuck, soldiers were falling, and the river blocked their way. Everything Sisera trusted was being destroyed in front of him. Still, Barak continued the attack. He did not stop when the enemy line broke. He led Israel forward with courage, trusting the God who had sent him. Sisera could see that Barak's men were getting closer. Then Sisera made his choice. He climbed down from his chariot and left it behind. The leader who had used 900 chariots to control Israel would not die beside his own soldiers. He left them in the broken valley and ran away on foot. His men were still fighting and dying, but Sisera thought only about saving himself. Barak chased the Canaanite army back toward Harosheth Hagoyim. The chase continued until Sisera's whole army was destroyed. Not one of his soldiers was left. But Sisera was no longer with them. He ran alone across the land. There was no chariot carrying him now. There were no soldiers beside him, and no guards protecting him. Sisera knew Barak would search for him. If he was found in the open, he would have no army to save him. He needed a hiding place, and he needed one quickly. Then Sisera thought of Heber the Canaanite. Heber's family had a peace deal with King Jabin. Since Sisera led Jabin's army, he believed that Heber's family would not give him to Barak. He saw their camp as the one place where he might still be safe. Sisera kept running until he reached the tent of Jael, Heber's wife. He was tired, thirsty, and covered with the signs of his defeat. Jael saw him coming and stepped outside. "Come inside, my lord," she told him. "Do not be afraid." Sisera entered without fighting her. Her words sounded safe, and her family's peace with Jabin gave him a reason to trust her. Jael covered him with a blanket so that anyone passing the tent would not see him. Sisera asked her for water. Jael opened a skin of milk and gave him a drink instead. Then she covered him again. Everything appeared to be working in Sisera's favor. Jael had welcomed him, hidden him, and given him milk. He began to believe that he had escaped the result of the battle. His army was gone, but he was still alive. Before he rested, Sisera gave Jael an order. "Stand at the entrance of the tent," he said. "If anyone comes and asks if a man is inside, tell them no." Even with his army destroyed, Sisera still spoke like a man who expected others to obey him. He did not ask Jael whether she would help. He simply told her to lie for him and guard the entrance. Sisera then lay beneath the blanket. His body was weak after running from the battlefield. The milk, the silence, and the hidden tent made him feel safe. Soon his eyes closed, and he fell into a deep sleep. This was the final mistake of his life. Jael did not stand at the entrance as Sisera had ordered. She waited until he was sleeping deeply. Then she picked up a tent peg and a hammer. Sisera did not see her coming. The man who once watched over 900 chariots could no longer protect himself. He had escaped Barak's sword, but he had entered the hands of the woman Deborah had spoken about. Jael moved quietly toward him. She placed the tent peg against the side of his head. Then she struck it with the hammer and drove it through his head and into the ground. Sisera died beneath the blanket. The terrifying leader of Jabin's army did not die in his chariot. He did not die facing the faithful man who had challenged him. He died while hiding from Barak inside the tent of a woman he thought he could command. Not long afterward, Barak reached the camp. He was still following Sisera, and had not ended the search simply because the enemy army was gone. Jael went outside to meet him. "Come," she said. Barak followed her into the tent. There he saw Sisera lying dead, with the tent peg still through his head. Deborah's words had come true. God had defeated Sisera, but the honor of killing him had gone to a woman. Barak accepted what God had done. The victory had never been about his personal glory. It was about freeing Israel from the man who had made them live in fear. Sisera's death broke the strength of King Jabin. Jabin had lost the leader of his army, his soldiers, and the chariots that had kept Israel under control. The Israelites continued fighting until Jabin's rule was completely destroyed. Later, Deborah and Barak sang about the day Sisera fell. Their song spoke about the rain from heaven, the Kishon River, and Jael's courage.